Washington. The U.S. Capitol descended into chaos and violence on Wednesday as hundreds of pro-Trump rioters swarmed the building, leaving 4 dead and forcing the Senate to evacuate and Vice President Mike Pence to be ushered to a secure location. The frenzied scene after rioters broke through barricades forced Congress to evacuate parts of the building and abruptly pause a ceremonial event affirming that President-elect Joe Biden won the November election. In one dramatic moment, police officers drew guns as rioters tried to break into the House chamber. Pence, who was presiding over the joint session of Congress, could be seen rushing out of the Senate chamber amid the sounds of throngs of President Donald Trump's supporters who surrounded the Capitol. Pence and Senator Charles Grassley, of Iowa, the Senate President pro tem, were taken to a secure location, a senator told NBC News. A woman was fatally shot by U.S. Capitol Police and 3 others died in medical emergencies, said Washington, D.C., Police Chief Robert Conti. The doors of the Senate were closed and locked, and senators were told to stay away from the area. The doors to the House were barricaded, and some lawmakers were seen praying. Washington Mayor Muriel Bowser ordered a 12-hour curfew in the city that began Wednesday evening. Twitter and other social media channels were flooded with images of rioters skirmishing with police officers, and there were multiple reports of rioting inside the Capitol as some rioters broke windows, battered down doors and postured in the Senate chamber. Improvised explosive devices were found on the Capitol grounds, several law enforcement officials said. Officers were in the process of destroying the devices, and it was not clear whether they were functional. At least one was made of a small section of galvanized pipe. 5 weapons were recovered from the complex, and 3 arrests were made, D.C. police said. None of the people were residents of the district. There were 12 arrests in the 2 days leading up to Wednesday. Images from the clashes were rife with disturbing hate symbols, a photo of a noose that had been hung on the west side of the Capitol, protesters waving Confederate flags or using white power gestures. Trump directed the National Guard to head to the Capitol, he said in a tweet, and U.S. Capitol Police requested additional support. The FBI was deployed, and the U.S. Marshal Service assisted in the response too. As Bowser's 12-hour curfew went into effect, most of the rioters dispersed, but pro-Trump rioters were seen in videos on social media roaming the city's streets amid a heavy police presence. The Metropolitan Police Department announced several arrests related to the riots and approximately 50 curfew violation arrests as of 10:30 p.m. The department said most of the arrestees were from out of state and it was processing additional arrests. Bowser said the city is working with federal law enforcement agencies to identify and prosecute individuals who stormed the chambers of Congress. Trump, who earlier Wednesday called on his supporters to march to the Capitol and even suggested that he might join them before he ultimately returned to the White House, addressed the chaos and the unrest in a series of tweets that were eventually flagged by Twitter as spreading false election claims and posing a risk of violence. He asked people to go home, but did not condemn the violence. The violence came after Trump spoke to a large crowd in front of the White House. He angrily vowed never to concede to Biden and baselessly asserted that the election results were fraudulent. All 4 living former presidents decried the rioting.